I started at a very, very young age because my dad worked from home and he had a workshop at home. He had a small lathe. He was actually a woodworker or a carpenter, and he was also a tinkerer, and he actually built what you're standing next to, which is a sandblasting cabinet of his own design. And through the processes that he utilised in that, I learnt a lot, you know, because he always had a lot of parts and tools on hand, and I watched how he did things, and, you know, unbeknownst to me, I fell in love with engineering, probably because of what my dad did. Yeah, I'm Tim O'Connor, I'm 34, and I run Hustler Minibikes New Zealand. When I started my apprenticeship in Courtney Engineering in Panmure in Auckland, they sort of loved the fact that I'd already had some hands-on experience, and I was only 16 at that time. I left school early because I was, you know, struggling with, you know, paying attention, and it just wasn't really happening for me. And I had excelled in the technical classes, but really struggled in things like maths and English. You know, it wasn't until my adult years that I realised that things that I have a lack of interest in are really a problem for me. I really struggle to pay attention to them. So what I've done when I started Hustler Minibikes was focused hard on something that I'm really interested in. And I think that's what shone through with it, was that, you know, as I sort of got my teeth into it, I realised that, hey, this is something that I love, and I just gave it everything, you know, and it was just 24/7 Hustler Minibikes until it worked, you know.
All right, so look at that seat. It looks like an old early 2000s Burger King seat.
You get the sun on there to strike.
Yeah, that's amazing.
How's that?
Cool. So this is effectively the base model, but not. Yeah. I don't like to say that because that to me that's kind of almost like talking it down, because it's still got so much engineering, so much effort put into it.
Yeah.
It's still something that if you were really silly on, you could probably end your existence on.
Absolutely. I mean,
so tell me about it. Take me from start to finish. What have we got here?
I mean, this is basically a true test replica.
Okay.
So when I designed this bike, I set out to basically recreate the fun of the 1970s true test.
Yeah.
But I wanted it to have modern day reliability. Yes. So we've got nice motors now. They're really reliable compared to the old flatheads.
What do you tend to use? Like, have you come across a brand that's better than others, or?
Well, I actually started with Briggs & Stratton.
Yeah.
So I went for the sort of well-known brand.
Yeah.
It had a good sort of comeback and warranty and all that. But
yeah.
At the end of the day, they were still Chinese-made motor.
Yeah.
They were no better in quality than something like this, which is a Honda copy.
Okay.
Right, so these are the Cena brand. They're one of the best clones I've found. They still have a 1-year warranty.
Okay.
This one's 118cc, as you can see. It's a Honda GX120 copy.
Yes.
4 horsepower. These do 45 kilometres an hour. Yeah. Which is still going pretty good for a little
when
bike.
you're that low to the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fast enough to have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And everyone I've sold one of these to has been satisfied with it.
I might just get a feel for the size. Oh, it's so light.
Yeah.
I'm used to a pressed steel Honda frame from the 70s that's kind of weighs the same as my daily driver as a car. And
exactly.
That's impressive. There's definitely no give. Yeah. So you need a padded seat. Of course, that's the big thing.
Exactly.
One of the favourite things that I do on my small bikes is aftermarket suspension, because it's it's such an aesthetic part. But these, you kind of just, it is what it is. The disc is just instant solid, so that would lock up.
Very responsive.
Yeah.
Brakes are extremely powerful.
Okay, and this has got, I'll turn it around so Neil can see. This has got the...
So it's only 32 kilos, by the way.
That's nothing. Yeah. If you get some shot of...
So that's a floating hydraulic caliper.
Yeah.
Using the sprocket as a disc.
So do you run chain lube?
Yes, absolutely.
And does it come onto the disc, or?
Well, no, because what happens is you use a tacky spray-on type chain grease.
Yeah.
And as it's rotating around, the sprocket always throws the grease outwards with centrifugal force.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's never working its way inwards.
Okay.
Even if you did get grease on here,
yeah,
it's so powerful that it will still work fine.
Okay, cool.
So you're not really worried about that anymore. It's
dropping dimes over here. Holy, look at that.
Yeah, so that's TIG welded aluminium.
Yeah.
3mm thick. So
yeah.
I just TIG weld those up with a little TIG welder I've got there.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. There's nothing to them, eh? And that's not to diminish your work. They're just so simple. And I think I've forgotten, look, there's a side stand here as well.
Yep.
Which is very impressive. I've kind of forgotten the simplicity, especially since I've been working on a bike, in the past 2 years that's fuel injected, and
Yeah.
I've gone right away from it. And to see this just kind of is actually refreshing. It's really awesome. And so one of these retails about $2,500.
Yep, they're 2,500 including GST.
Okay.
And that's something like this, although this has got the addition of chrome-plated removable handlebars.
Okay. So otherwise they just have standard
That's right.
unremovable bars.
That's right.
Yeah. And this just makes it easier for transportation, I guess. But hypothetically, no one would probably take them apart.
It's just a one-off that I did just for myself.
Okay.
Just as an experiment, actually, just to see if I could do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, typically, I mean, that one behind you there, that's Little Hustler number 1.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that gives you an idea of how I started, actually.
Yeah. Absolutely. Come round now. Have a look at this one.
This particular bike was...
That exhaust is something else.
Yep. So this is an old flathead Briggs & Stratton from the 60s.
Yeah.
I recently put this in just to build a vintage-styled bike.
Yeah. Do they sound like different, like as a flathead? Than
Yeah, they do. They have an exhaust note that's quite different.
Yeah.
You'll notice that this one has no branding in the frame.
Yes.
So when I first did these, I tried to replicate the True Test as much as possible.
Yeah.
So I even did the little holes in here where they mounted the front plates.
Okay.
And I went away from the whole True Test thing
Yeah.
after the first 10, but the first 10 Little Hustlers have no branding.
Yes.
So there are 10 of them out there with no Hustler.
And you added
No
that
plate.
posthumously.
That came much later.
Yeah, that's cool. You've machined up a little trumpet for your carburetor by the looks of it there as well?
Yeah, I've done a few of those before, and
Yeah.
it was just all part of the old school look. And
It's tiny wheels, what, 4-inch?
4-inch rim, yeah.
Yeah.
And this one has slightly oversized tyres, which
Yeah.
are 11-inch rolling diameter.
Okay.
Standard now, they're 10-inch.
Yeah. And that's running a 420 chain, or is it smaller?
It's the small number 35,
35 chain, yeah.
3/8 pitch.
Yeah, okay. That's
So-
really impressive. All right, so those are the original ones. Let's,
Yeah, so this is bike number 40. This one's number 1.
okay. That's impressive. Can we have a look at a Fatboy?
Yeah.
Let's do it. We'll put this one back nicely.
Yep. Yeah, so I'm in my 17th year as an engineer, and I started off in Auckland City, and when I was, I think it was 2018, I decided that, hey, I think I'm ready for a pretty radical change. I think I was recently single at that time, and I thought, right, I'm actually going to move out of my house. I'm going to go flatting to free myself up, make sure that I'm flexible, so I can leave at the drop of a hat. I'd had a small stint with the America's Cup team, which was SoftBank Team Japan. And I went to Bermuda and worked for them for 4 weeks as a machinist. Yeah, and I learnt a lot about the yachting world and race yachts in general, and it opened my eyes to the fact that there's this whole world out there that can be explored, and I thought, right, that's what I want to do. I want to get into yachting. So, like I said, I freed up myself, made sure I was flexible, and about a year later a job came along which I took with SailGP as their machinist, and that was when SailGP was still in its infancy. The name SailGP didn't exist yet. It was just the F50 league, and I didn't really know what I was getting into. All I knew was that it was similar to the America's Cup. They were similar technology, and yeah, I jumped on and I was their machinist from day one, and I did the whole season 1. I did 5 or 6 countries, traveling the world. Had a 40-foot shipping container fitted out as a machine shop. We had a nice little lathe and a mill and beautiful TIG welder, and it was a real cutting-edge workshop, which I built up in Warkworth before we left. So I was based in Warkworth for about a year, and right near the end of that, I had to find a new place to live, and I was missing my friends in the city. Quite a long drive between Warkworth and the city, and I thought, right, maybe I can sort of meet halfway in between and live somewhere on the coast. And I had some family here, and it just kind of made sense. So I found a place and I rented it, and yeah, sort of fell in love with the coast and thought, I think I'll move here. I had a real passion for having my own workshop that sort of had its own signature, my signature, like what does my look like, what do I want to have my business look like, and how do I represent myself? And until then I had nothing. I'd never been able to establish myself like that, so that's what this workshop is kind of a product of my whole life leading up till now. Pretty much sold up everything. I had a nice big Chevy Impala, big block coupe, 67, you know, and I thought, man, I love this car, but now I got to liquidate it, you know, and buy a lathe. So I did that, sold it, bought a lathe, bought the house, and yeah, got going. And rest is history, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're called Fatboy for a reason. These are like, they're 100mm longer.
Yeah, you can definitely notice them in the frame.
Yeah, so
This is running a Robin engine.
Robin, yep.
Is that what you put in all of the Fatboys?
Correct. So
Okay.
since day one, this is the signature of the Fatboy.
Yeah.
So this is the most, basically, the highest quality, most premium stationary engine you can buy.
Okay.
These are actually an overhead cam engine.
Wow.
So they have a timing chain
Yeah.
running up to an overhead cam. And they're actually really rare.
Yeah.
Not many people know what they are anymore. And they're the only stationary engine that has an overhead cam.
I do recall one of your really interesting, I think it was a reel or possibly just some stories where you had the top end open and you were showcasing it. It was really interesting.
Yep.
Nice little lithium battery here on the front, save weight. You've got a custom Hustler made
Yep,
battery box there. And is that because this is electric start?
correct.
Aha.
So we've just got a key start here. We can just, I'll crank it a little crack, you know,
Yep.
simple as that. Saves you having to pull start. It's just a cool factor thing.
Yeah.
Um,
I love these wheels and the tyres. So these are just these aren't the wheels we're looking at previously that are the
yeah, that's
beadlock
right.
rims. These are just kind of like a standard wider rim.
Yep, so these are a Douglas Racing 5-inch. Basically what you'd have on the front of a cadet kart or a, you know, entry-level kart.
That's really impressive. Disc brake on the rear, but it's on the left side and on its own, separate from the sprocket on this one here.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, and you've got the bigger carburetor in there as well, or the
Yep.
carburetor that we looked at recently as well.
That's right, the 22mm.
Yeah, that's really awesome. So, yeah, no, there's a definite size difference. I'm going to have to do the old sit test just to triple check.
Yeah,
Oh, the bars are higher, aren't they?
higher bars, the seats further back,
Oh, yep, okay.
so you've got a little more room.
Yeah, I would get myself into trouble, eh? Not because of the design, just because of me.
Yeah,
I'm the problem here.
yeah, I think you'll be quite surprised what that goes like.
Yeah,
You've actually got quite a bit of power there.
yeah. And yeah, it's definitely got a little bit more weight into it, but no, you can kind of tell.
Yeah, it's 50% heavier.
Okay,
So you've got a lot more running gear there. You've got a bigger 420 chain,
yeah,
and you've got the 30 series CBT as well.
yeah. And you've got the nice parking brake rear disc as well, which I like.
Yep.
So this is Fatboy 19. So are you numbering them based on the different models? So you've got
Yes.
a number range of
Yep.
Fatboys, you've got a number range of Little Hustlers.
That's right.
Yeah, okay, cool.
So to work out the total number of bikes I've done, you've got to add the two together.
Yes, okay. Have you done that?
I have.
What's the total you've done so far?
We're up to 80,
Okay.
roughly.
Yeah. Really nice. I like that exhaust as well. That's so short. It's got such a short throw before it
Yeah.
comes out the rear there.
Yeah, that's right.
Earplugs, do you?
This one's not too bad.
Yeah.
These are similar to a dirt bike in volume,
Yeah.
so you're good to go.
Yeah.
The worst thing with these is being a hardtail, there's quite a lot of harsh vibration.
Mm.
So you'll wear yourself out vibration-wise before you wear your ears out.
Okay.
They're
Would-
not good for long-term riding.
The Rotary has a lot less vibration?
Yeah, a lot less.
Okay.
Yeah, these big single-cylinder engines are pretty hard on vibration.
Yeah.
That's notorious of mini bikes, really.
Okay, so other changes from the mini, from the normal, so the standard size to this one, has it got a bigger frame, like a thicker tube or anything like that? Or
It's actually the same frame hoops.
Okay.
What we do with these is we run a wider front fork to fit the fatter tyres.
Okay.
And obviously we've got the back axle outboard of the frame.
Yes.
So the axle's actually a lot further back than the little Hustler.
Oh, okay. Yes.
And it's a live axle, so the whole axle spins.
Yeah.
Bearings are mounted in the frame,
Okay.
whereas on the little Hustler, the bearings are in the rim.
Yeah.
And the axle's stationary.
Yeah. So there's a massive amount of differences there.
Yeah, I mean,
Let's see.
a Fatboy, I'd call it a two-wheeled go-kart,
Okay.
because the way it works, all the running gear and everything is essentially
Exactly the same.
go-kart.
Yeah.
So this is a two-wheeled go-kart, basically.
Cool.
And performance is similar, you know, it's pretty rapid.
That's impressive. That's really cool.
Yeah.
All right. What's the next to the line?
Next in line. Well, we can take a look at the little purple bike there, which is a modified little Hustler.
Okay.
Although it's not officially a model,
Neil, look at those wheels.
it very easily could be. So I was walking home from school one day, I was about 11, walking home from intermediate school, and I spotted this Honda C50 leaning against someone's fence down the side of their house. It was a 1964, real nice old one. I think it had a tarp partly over it, and I don't know what it was that made me kind of notice it, but I got home and told my dad about it, and my dad was always one for like striking a deal or going and knocking on someone's door if he saw something. So we went round there and we knocked on their door, and it was just a middle-aged guy, and he told us that it was his mother's, you know, and she didn't use it anymore, he didn't know if it still went, and he said if you and your kid are interested, you can have it. So yeah, we took this thing home, and yeah, I didn't know anything about it. My dad knew what it was, and got home from school the next day, and he's like, I got it going, you know, and yeah, I rode that thing everywhere, mate, you know, like when I was 12, I used to just ride it down the footpath and stuff, and always had a bike, always had a small bike, and they all come along in their own sweet time. Like, I bought an NC50 Express off my brother's friend. It was super mint. I used to polish that thing up and like wax it all up, and that's how I learnt to detail bikes. Yeah, and I had, you know, small trail bikes and stuff, and I was probably around the 12 years old, and Dad said, hey, there's a true test in the Trade and Exchange, let's go and get it, you know. I remember it was about $200, and we went and picked this thing up, and I was like, what is this thing? You know, and it had like a 3 horsepower Briggs & Stratton engine, and probably no brakes. Yeah, it had no brakes, I remember. And I remember crashing it into the neighbour's letterbox, you know, because I couldn't stop, and it was wild, but I loved it. It looked so relatable as a young kid. You know, like you can just see what everything is. They're so simplistic, and there's so much to love about a simple mini bike, you know. And that was my first experience with a mini bike as such. And we picked up another one after that. It was a new old stock frame that a guy had hanging around, and I built that up, and I've still got that in there. We can have a look at that later. So yeah, I've had that for over 20 years.
Back a bit so we're out of the sun.
Yep.
This is the thing is, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to go and relabel every single bike you've ever produced, because technically this is number one.
But this is my second true test, actually.
Second? Oh yes, so.
Although I got this when I was 12 years old.
Yeah.
This frame was brand new when I got it. So the guy I bought it off had it sitting around since the 80s, he reckoned.
So he had bought a true test frame, and it was the frame only. Is that what you had?
That's right. And then I went and found the original alloy wheels separately on the Trade and Exchange.
Yep.
And what I've done with those wheels is I've spray painted black into the inside of the spokes.
Yeah.
And then I've re-skimmed them in my dad's lathe in the garage.
Yeah, to get
them that nice machine look.
Yeah. How old were you when you did that?
Around 12 or 13.
That's wild.
Yeah, just starting college.
I've only used a wood lathe once, and a bit of wood went flying into a roof, so...
I think
you've got some skills, man.
No, one of these probably flew out.
Yeah.
I probably had to repair it, you know.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I was no expert at that age, but...
Yeah, it's really awesome to actually see, you know... I would have not expected to see the true test here, not because I just didn't expect to see one, and I'm glad that we have seen one, because it's quite clear the amount of effort that you've put into re-engineering an old favourite. They did just what they did back at the time that was cost effective and would get them out the door. And
exactly.
I don't think anyone's ever looked at them seriously again since then. People have had the plans, people have welded them together and made their own, but they've just done it based off this. No one's looked at it and tried to re-engineer the wheel technically, you know.
That's right.
Which is what you've done, and it's really impressive. That disc, by the way.
Yeah, I added a disc brake a bit later on. So I was actually an engineer at that point.
Yeah.
So I've had that laser cut from stainless steel, and I made an alloy hub that fitted into there. It's way overkill. And I actually regret putting a front brake on this because it's not very safe.
Yeah.
It's quite prone to front wheel washout.
Yeah, no,
especially
absolutely.
in slippery conditions.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I was doing work on cars, like I did a big twin stainless exhaust for a guy's V8 Land Cruiser. And yeah, I don't know, did whatever I could. I picked up some really good work as a designer. I've got a version of SolidWorks, which I purchased off a friend, which was a big investment. And I set to work doing as much drafting as I could, which was really good work during lockdown because I could do it without any interaction, sitting at my desk. And I made good money for about 6 months doing that. And then found that I really didn't enjoy it. I dreaded sitting down and designing something for someone I just felt like I was an employee still, and I wasn't enjoying self-employment. But I was making money, it was paying the bills, and it gave me enough time at the end of the day or in the weekends to explore my own avenues. And I remember one Saturday morning, it was just a Saturday morning like this, and I was just laying on the floor upstairs, you know, just had a coffee or whatever, and I was like, man, I think a friend of mine had given me a copy of the True Test plans, and I was looking at them just thinking, you know, I could build these, you know, like why can't I? I've got the business now, I've got the know-how, I know how to do every process in that. You know, I was kind of at the peak of my engineering skills. I knew how to do everything really efficiently. So I thought, right, I'm going to get some material in, get some frames bent up, you know, I know how to laser cut all the parts, and yeah, I made a prototype, man, and put it on my personal Facebook page. And it was so well received because I had so many friends that were into the True Test from back in the day. I sold the first 10 frames in like the first week, you know. I sold them for cost price, just frames. I did do like a kit. Like I pretty quickly found some wheels that would work because guys had no idea where to source stuff. So after the first 10 sort of frames and kit set kind of type bikes, I realised that people don't actually know how to build mini bikes. I've got to build them for them because most people ask me for a finished mini bike. So I think the first finished mini bike happened in October, maybe November 2021, about a month after I sort of started.
Oh, seat lifts.
Yeah,
Whoa,
seat
we're
lifts.
already finding more cool features. I don't want to put fingerprints on the
No,
frame
you're
too
right.
much. There we go.
It's just all powder coated, so it wipes clean.
Oh, cool. Well, that's another feature. So they're not painted, they're powder coated.
That's right.
Okay, well that's awesome. It makes
All the
it,
bikes are powder coated.
it's a lot more hard wearing, I guess, than paint.
Massively durable, yeah.
Yeah.
So this is actually a base coat, clear coat system.
Yeah.
So it's a really durable finish.
I'm sure the watchers by now have noticed something slightly different with this one than the last two we've shown,
Yeah.
and that would be its power plant.
Yeah.
Heck, man, you've had to play some games with clearances and stuff like this for the wheel and the carb and all that.
Exactly.
It's really impressive to see what you've done there. So, another thing I'm noticing right here is there's a long rod from the rear of the bike to the front of the bike to a pedal that says stop. That would lead me to believe you've put a foot brake on this one.
With this bike, I had all these parts lying around.
Yeah.
And I had it in my mind for about 6 months what I was going to build.
Mm.
And one weekend I just set to work, and I more or less put this together in a weekend.
Yeah.
And that was partly thanks to my new Arcdroid plasma cutter.
Okay.
I was able to cut things like this disc out of a plate of steel
Yes.
and different bracketry and things like this, all on the fly, kept me moving and let me smash this out in a weekend.
That's really, really, really impressive. This is a completely different caliper setup, hey, with the
Yeah, so that's a go-kart styled mechanical caliper.
Okay.
So this rod style would normally be on a go-kart.
Yeah.
This rod would extend all the way to the front of the cart and
Yeah.
hook up to your pedal.
I noticed this is the first one I've seen. Well, actually, no, the other one had a key on the engine itself, but this one has a ignition
Yeah.
in the centre of the frame there.
Yeah, that's something new that I added in there just to give you a nice little takeaway key. You know, if you want to park this outside the dairy or something,
Yeah.
the last thing you want is some kid to come and pull the cord and start it.
Yeah.
So it's a nice little feature.
And if we look kind of, I'll lift it around a little bit for you there, at that pipe. Heck is the best way to start describing that. Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know, I want to say pea shooter, but it's not really, is it? What did you call this when you made it? What was your...
Just a straight pipe. I mean, at 25 millimeters, it's not exactly small.
No.
This thing screams, you know, it's really loud.
Yeah.
I didn't really want a loud bike.
Yeah.
I just started making the pipe and I thought, well, I got to about here with my ideas and I thought, where am I going to put the muffler, you know?
Yeah.
I thought, well, I wanted to finish this bike off for the New Zealand Motorcycle Show, so
Yes.
I'll carry on. I'll just make a straight pipe for now.
Is this the one you made really last minute for it?
Yeah, this
Yeah.
came together real quick.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, I could always cut this section here and put a little cigar-style muffler in there.
If you wanted to, yeah.
Yeah, and I think I will because I want to use this bike a lot.
It's nice to have hearing afterwards.
Yeah, this makes your ears ring.
Yeah.
You know, it's really loud.
Yeah. That's awesome. Is this CVT looks a bit bigger or different? Or?
Yeah, so this is actually a proper vintage one. Genuine Max Torque brand, which is an
Okay.
American brand.
Yeah.
These are actually quite hard to find now. And this is a lower ratio one, so it never actually makes it to 1-to-1.
Mm.
So you've got a much bigger driven pulley.
Yeah.
And we've had all this HPC coated with hypercoat.
Yeah,
and ceramic
something's
polished.
on that. Yeah.
So everything's polished. A polished billet alloy backing plate there that I made.
Is that from High Performance Coatings?
This stuff is, this coating.
Yeah. They do pretty wicked. Can you run me through your concept for the side stand? Is that how they came?
That's actually, I've copied that from the old True Test.
Yeah, I really like it. I'm scared to do it because I feel like it's going to scratch the frame, but if you can get the action there, it lifts.
Eventually it does wear through the paint, but the thing with the mini bikes is that they were never supposed to be this flash.
No, they were just meant to be rip shit and bust, basically. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, I say to guys, look, just use it and enjoy it. You know, it's going to get little scratches. It's going to wear through the paint in places. It's just part of the natural wearing of a mini bike.
Yeah, completely agree.
You can't avoid it.
Forks are bent.
They are bent forward slightly.
Yep.
I wanted to mimic the old school lowrider push bikes.
Yeah.
And I really liked that look. It gave it a much longer wheelbase.
Yeah.
And quite a cool low slung look.
It's a really impressive machine. Like for me, the candy kind of colours always just pop and stand out.
Yeah.
And they don't get old for me.
Yeah.
Some people think of it as like early 00s hot rod styling, and I'm just like, no, it's now. It's forever. It looks really good. It just pops so hard. And are you getting all these chromed, or is this all polished?
That's chromed.
Yeah.
So what I do is I polish the steel first.
Yeah.
And then send it to them to be just chrome plated.
Yeah.
Straight over the polished steel.
And there's one thing people don't realise in New Zealand is like simple things like this. When you've got a population of 5 million people, chroming is not cheap.
No, there's only about 2 places in Auckland that'll do it.
Yeah, and outside of Auckland, there's only a few places in New Zealand, so we've really got limited choices. Yeah. I got some of my stuff chromed over in Thailand and was paying pennies on the dollar, man. It was incredible. It was okay. It wasn't amazing quality, but here, you're getting good quality, but you're paying for it through the teeth. So,
exactly.
All of these things add up. It looks like the engine's been high performance coated as well.
It's been vibration polished.
Vibration polished. I don't even know what that means.
So it's been put in a bath full of ceramic beads.
Yeah.
And then it vibrates, and all those beads polish the surface.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a tumbler.
Is this just you finding out about new ways to do things and trying them?
Yeah, well, I've got a good relationship with high performance coatings.
Okay.
And every time I go in there, I try and experiment with a new finish.
Yeah.
So this bike was all about stretching the limits and just going all out with custom finishes, basically.
You were with High Performance Coatings on their stand?
Yes.
At the Auckland New Zealand Motorcycle Show? We
collaborated, and I had 3 or 4 bikes there on his stand.
Cool.
And it was a good showcase for him as well to show
what his products
some
are
of the
capable
finishes.
of.
Yeah, it's great. I've got a good relationship with Nikolai there, and we produce some really amazing results.
That's impressive. All right, well, we've been through... Front wheel. Okay, sorry, Neil. We need to talk about the front wheel. Neil really likes the front wheel.
Yeah, okay. So these rims, they are produced, I think they're probably made in Thailand or China or something.
Yeah.
Or maybe Mexico. I don't imagine they'll be made in America. They are an American brand. I think Azusa, maybe. I can't put my finger on it.
There's no stampings on them, are there?
Nah, there's no brand. Some of them have branding on them, some of them don't, but they're just die-cast zinc alloy, high zinc content. Yeah. We tried to polish those, but they didn't come up very good because of the zinc content. Yeah,
it still looks really good though. I mean, like, if you grew up throughout the 80s or the 90s and you lived in New Zealand and you knew an old boy with an old V8, there was a 75% chance he had a set of these on them.
Yeah, we called them hustlers.
Yeah.
I think I switched around 1,400 followers from Army Bay to Hustler, and I think the reason I did that was because there wasn't anything coming through Army Bay Engineering that was worth posting, and all I wanted to post was mini bikes. And I thought, well, writing's on the wall with this one, like just turn it into Hustler mini bikes. It's what everyone's into. And it snowballed pretty quick. Like, I think around that time, reels were coming in. And like, I remember when I started, I didn't know what a reel was. And my girlfriend at the time, Lisa, she was like a bit more clued up. And I remember like she made a reel of our cat Basil. And I was like, what the heck are you doing? Like putting some funny music to a video and stuff and making this reel. And it took me a while to catch on. And I remember making a reel of my truck. And it kind of like, probably got around 10,000 views or something. And after that, I think it came real natural. Like I just started filming stuff, and I've always been into photography and filming and stuff as a hobby. So I took naturally to filming and, taking like nice shots, with good depth of field and stuff. So I never struggled to produce quality content, but what really made it take off was the reels. You know, TikTok kind of vibe, like just short, impactful. And then when I started showing people how I did it, that's when it added value and people hung around like, whoa. Like, I remember thinking, right, I've got to name these bikes, because after the first 10, I started naming them.
I remember that you made the badges for the ones previous. Made the
little rivet-on badge.
Yeah.
They didn't come until about number 30. So when I first started, I knew that I needed to number them, but I was just stamping like the engine plate, like by the engine. So quite a lot of them have a little number stamped on there. But man, I think I just looked at what can I call these things? What's kind of cool? What's catchy? There's the American Little Indian, and I think that's where I subconsciously got the little from. So I called them a Little Hustler. At first I was a little bit, I think we originally, like when we concepted the sign, we did Little Hustler Minibikes, and we did Hustler Minibikes as well. And my uncle was doing that for me, and I think it was a real confusing time, and I ended up scrapping the whole Little Hustler Minibikes thing and just going for Hustler Minibikes.
So this is like a Fatboy that's had some kind of custom
this is
jams done to it.
This is actually a XL pack.
Okay.
So we briefly touched on that with the wheels.
Is the angle all good for you, mate? Yeah, sweet.
Yeah, so this is a...
Well, hold on a second. I've just realised. It's awesome. No, the thickness of that chain, the gold chain, is that 420 or is it 428?
It's a 420.
It is 420.
So we run the 420 on the Fatboys.
Yeah.
So this is a standard Fatboy with the XL pack. So it's wider forks and it's got the beadlock rims.
Oh, the colour matched lips are just something else.
Yeah, so it's an extra option to really set the bike off.
Yeah.
Like it gives you that extra point of difference. They're an inch taller, the tyres.
Okay.
So these are a bigger rolling diameter.
So you've got more ground clearance, which is not a bad
more
thing.
ground clearance. You can lean it over further before the disc and sprocket hits the ground.
Oh, is that a thing?
That's a big thing because...
Flat tyre as well, you wouldn't want to pop a tyre.
Yeah, you can only run sort of 30 degrees of angle before you hit. So these are a lot better.
Yeah.
And obviously we're running the Supercart slicks.
Really nice solid seats, I really do like them.
Yeah. This one's nubuck leather.
Yep.
Genuine leather.
And this has got one of the what engines in it? Is this the...
Yep, the Robin.
Yep, so it's the Robin overhead cam engine, which is pretty interesting. OHC.
Yep, overhead cam.
And then we've got the slick Dunlops.
Yep.
Yeah, slick Dunlops as well, with the same fancy disc on the back there that he's had machined out on
That's
all
right.
the other bikes as well. It's just really aesthetically pleasing, and when you look at it from this side, especially if you don't know anything about CVTs or chains, it looks like there's so much going on.
Yeah.
Like I imagine normal people would be like, oh, well, a belt and a chain, it doesn't make sense. But
yeah.
it's really impressive. And can you run lower pressure on these to have a bit of suspension?
You could do, yeah.
What are you running tyre pressure wise when you...
Run about 30 to 40 in these.
Yeah.
I like to keep them quite hard because I want to maintain maximum ground clearance,
Yes.
especially when you're up on the corners of the tyres.
Yeah. Can you kind of high side yourself if you're not careful?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I've high-sided one
Yeah.
and it hurt.
Yeah.
I dug a foot peg in.
Yep.
Um,
That's a big lean.
yeah, it was on a Little Hustler actually.
Yeah.
And I got my toe stuck under the foot peg as well.
Yeah.
And it really kicked me off hard. So yeah, this is the XL pack on the Fatboy.
Yeah.
So
So if you didn't have the XL pack, these would just be the standard wheels that aren't don't have the
no beadlock.
Yeah, no beadlock. Does the Fatboys always come with this disc?
Correct. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's just a wheel upgrade.
Yeah.
Just a wheel upgrade really, and
Yeah.
wider forks
Yeah.
to accommodate.
That's really impressive. And those exhausts, are you making them in the batch slots now? Or?
That's right. Yeah, I make them about 3 or 4 at a time on a jig.
Yeah.
Yep.
How many different kinds of pipes would you have? Because do all the different engines have different exits, don't they?
Actually, no. This is the only type I've got that's custom.
Okay.
The Little Hustler runs the standard exhaust
Okay.
that comes with the engine.
Yeah.
This is the only custom exhaust I do off the shelf.
Okay.
So the Fatboy is a factory custom bike.
Yeah.
So it's got its own custom parts that only go on the Fatboy.
And I think this appeals to a lot of people because, like, reality is, like, I want to be a great bike builder. Back in the day, I'd watch American Choppers and Great Biker build off and wish I could do it.
Yep.
I've got limits to my skills, and you don't. So why not let you do the job for me?
Well, I love to push my skills.
Yeah.
I love it when
absolutely.
a customer says, "Can you do this?" And I think, well, I could, but it's going to be expensive, you know.
Yeah.
And they say, well, I'm willing to back you on it, you know.
Yeah, just do it.
That's how I flex my skills, you know.
Yeah.
It all starts with one customer that's prepared to pay what it costs.
Absolutely. And so this is an awesome bike. Fatboy, are we allowed to show this?
Absolutely.
Yeah, cool.
I mean, that's a Fatboy XL pack as well.
Yeah.
It's just got the wet tyres instead of slicks.
Just a little bit of branding there for you. So this is actually a giveaway, isn't it?
Yeah, correct. So
Yeah.
Gear Inch is giving this away.
So
as
this
a
is
promotion.
virtually the same as what we've just looked at.
Yep.
In fact, I think it's exactly the same apart from the aesthetics, isn't it?
It is. It's got a couple of interesting cladding panels here. So I've fitted these gusset panels in.
Yeah.
And I've also got a front plate. I offer these to anyone who buys a bike. They can add these on. Most people don't go for them because they don't like the look of them.
Yeah.
Everyone's got their own opinion on aesthetics, but it gives us more real estate for branding.
Yeah.
Maybe you've got a bit of a themed bike in mind. You want to get some extra graphics going or something.
Yeah, absolutely. And what have Gear Inch done for you? Like, what kind of stuff have you been getting from them?
Well, I've got a good relationship with Gear Inch in that we work together as brand partners.
Okay.
So I use their tools. They help promote my business, and it goes two ways. This is separate. They've decided to commission me to build this custom bike, and they've decided to give it away to one of their customers. You know.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome. So go buy some Gear Inch stuff and you might be able to have this bike.
absolutely.
If I don't disappear with it today.
Well, it's a fantastic opportunity for someone in New Zealand to own an amazing bike.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
have some cool tools at the same time, most likely.
Exactly. You're not
Two
just,
birds, one stone.
you're not just buying a raffle ticket. You're buying
Yeah.
a tool set
Yeah.
and the opportunity to win this.
Yeah.
And New Zealand's not big, so it's well worth entering.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really cool. I like these lithium batteries. We used to use these at work, and they've got a
Yeah.
test state of charge test button on there, which is
right.
pretty cool. And they weigh absolutely nothing. It's really impressive. And they've got the cranking power of a battery quite a lot bigger than that.
Correct.
So yeah, really awesome little batteries.
That battery's similar to a power tool battery in size and weight.
Yes, it is. All right, I'm going to gently
Beautiful.
push this one back. Thanks, Gear Inch. I won't take it.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to, but maybe we'll have to buy a tool set instead. See if I can win.
The Rotaries are so interesting. I 100% agree that I would coin the Rotary as the turning point for my business. Like that's when it took off online. So I've always known of them, and I always had friends that sort of had them laying around, but never had I heard one run. I had a customer, he was a friend of mine, he came round, and I knew he had two of these engines, and I said to him once, hey, why don't you sell me one, And he's like, well, I want you to build me a mini bike with one. I've seen the mini bikes you're doing. I was like, I don't know anything about them. I'm pretty scared of that. But he was real forthcoming. He just turned up with them. He's like, you can have one as part payment for doing the job. I was like, sweet, here's my engine, And so I was really motivated because I ended up with two engines here, and I was playing with them and found out that they were actually quite easy to tune and run. And yeah, so I built him a little Hustler with a KM48 in it, little lime green one. And that was one of my early bikes, to be honest. It was probably one of the first 20 maybe. And it was so fast. I just shit myself. I took off up the road on it and it was like, wah, 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 wah. I was struggling to keep the front wheel down. I was like, damn, these things rip, So I instantly fell in love with how powerful they were and how fast, because they rev out. And the sound is just incredible. The Fatboy already existed at that time. The Fatboy came along real quick. Maybe we'll talk about that in a second after the Rotaries, but this particular guy didn't want to pay the extra for the Fatboy model. So he said, nah, let's just chuck it in a little Hustler. And to be fair, that was quite a cool idea because you ended up with a really powerful little bike, which everyone seems to love. So I posted a video of that bike and it went viral, right? Because no one had seen a proper little Rotary mini bike. And in America, they all recognize the shape of these because they think they're a little Indian because they're the same raking shape, front and rear. And all they saw was this crazy Rotary little Indian, and they just couldn't believe their eyes because they're such a rare engine. If you've heard of them, you've probably never seen one anyway. And man, it got millions of views, And I remember posting a little short video of, I think I had 5 or 6 bikes lined up at the New Zealand Motorcycle Show 2022, and I just put some stupid trending audio to it. It was like, man, can you imagine if we had these when we were kids, And yeah, it was Man, it was probably like 10 seconds and it just went off, man. I probably got like 30,000 followers from that one video, you know, just because it was so new. There was like these bright coloured little bikes. There was a Rotary one, there was a Fatboy, and like, man, like no one was doing that yet, you know? No one was building wild bikes at that time. So you want to look at something you have been thinking about the whole time?
Yeah. So as Neil slowly pans down, what you'll notice is that there's one bike in there that is not like the others. One of these things just isn't quite the same. And it's this thing here. So this is a QA50.
Yeah.
Now QA50s in general, we'll get this out so we can both be around it.
Yep.
Doesn't have a stand, or does it?
No stand.
Okay.
I'll hold it for you.
That's cool. QA50s, forget that giant lump there in the middle at the moment. QA50s are an interesting bike because basically they're like a hardtail Honda that came out in early 60s, I believe. And these were essentially a follow-on from their CZ100. And the CZ100 was the first ever monkey bike made that wasn't a production model, really. They made those for like a amusement park in Japan.
That's right. Yeah, and they were very low.
And they had a much bigger tank than this.
Yeah.
And then I don't know how it went, but obviously someone saw the benefit in producing them into a real model. So they came out with a 50cc four-stroke.
Yep.
It was a push-rod engine, possibly.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and 5-inch wheels. They didn't have these wheels on them, did they?
No, I think they had these.
Okay,
I
yeah.
think they had these. 5-inch.
Oh, yes, they did. On
These
the
are
other side,
5-inch.
you've got the drum.
That's right.
And the physical lip, or the inside of the rim, is actually the... if we turn it around that way, and you can get that side Neil there. I'm trying to figure out the best way to describe it. The drum rubs... the shoes rub against the inside of the rim, which is the drum.
That's right. So the alloy rim is actually lined with cast iron.
Yes.
So it's got its own integral brake drum.
So I've seen a couple of guys who have worn through those over the years and are looking for new sets and you just don't get them. So that's your brake inside the rim there.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's right.
But obviously, you know, elephant in the room is this large Rotary in there.
Yeah.
Where did you get this bike from? And also, don't forget to get the old ribbon there.
Oh, we won a little award the other day. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. What's the story of this, man?
So I picked this bike up off Trade Me.
Yeah.
An old boy had it since he was, I don't know, I think he'd had it for about 10 years.
Yeah.
And he used to just putt around on it near his work.
Okay.
He didn't know what it was.
So he just had a Honda and
He had a
just
Honda
bike.
listed, and it was all spray painted silver, and it was in really bad shape.
Yeah.
It had a C50 motor in it,
Mm-hmm.
and it did run, and I sort of thought, oh, I'd like to restore it, you know, but as I started looking at it more and more, I realised that it wasn't the best example. I rubbed off the silver paint and found that nice patina Honda original paint underneath.
That's really awesome.
So I've kept that as a kind of homage to what it was.
Do they come with this lip?
Yeah,
That's not. I didn't even have any idea about that.
yeah.
That's really impressive.
That's a new old, not a new old stock, a reproduction seat cover.
You've kept the original handlebars because they've got little holes in them for the original cables that went through.
This
the
bike's
bars.
actually totally original except for the engine.
Yeah.
So everything on it is original.
What is this engine? KM?
KM48,
Yep.
Sachs, 160cc, 10 horsepower at 5,000 RPM.
10 horsepower. These came out with about 2.5.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. So, okay.
This bike's good for 90 kilometres an hour.
Are you serious? Have you done that?
I've done over 80 on it, yeah.
Okay. That's impressive. One thing I'll do as well, Neil, when you're ready, I'll turn it around because I would like everyone to see the sprocket to rear wheel comparison.
Yeah, it's pretty unique.
Okay. Don't get a flat tyre.
Yeah. So you can actually hit that chain on the ground if you bank it right over.
Yeah.
That's the biggest sprocket I could possibly fit on there.
And this is a plastic guard, isn't it? on
Yeah,
the rear?
original guard. Yep. So I have modified the guard. I've cut it and reformed it a little bit just to fit the extra jack shaft underneath it.
You're lucky that it even existed because these usually are the first things to
Yeah.
snap off and break.
Well, it didn't have a front guard when I got the bike.
Yeah.
And it took me about 6 months to find one.
Okay. Yeah. How has this all worked? How have you made this work? Because you've got a
Yep.
belt coming straight out here, which is not a CVT transmission. It's just
It's basically a primary drive.
yeah.
So like a Harley has, where they run the drive back to the gearbox back here. What I've done here is decided to use this toothed belt,
Yeah.
which is sometimes called a timing belt.
Yeah.
The reason I went for that is because I wanted to make the whirring noise,
Yeah.
kind of reminiscent of the rotary cars.
Yeah.
That's an 8mm pitch timing belt.
What do people call those belts again?
Gilmer.
Gilmer, yeah.
Gillies.
Gillies, yeah.
Gillies,
Pinging
yeah.
gillies.
Pinging the gillies.
Yeah,
Yeah. So we're running a centrifugal clutch back here
yeah.
on a jack shaft and a 420 chain, which is as per standard, but obviously this original sprocket's really tiny.
Yeah.
And I've had to make this custom big alloy one, which I've designed in SolidWorks and then had laser cut.
Yeah, got rid of as much weight as you could.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's actually quite a heavy bike, and although it's heavy, it still goes really well.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of power there, a lot of high-end power.
That rear tyre, have you done a few skids on this, or is that just use?
No, well, that's just the tyre that came on it when I got the bike.
Okay, yeah.
So if it's not broke, don't fix it, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
I try not to spend money where I can.
Yeah.
You know, when it needs new tyres, I'll buy new tyres, but I'm all about using what I've got, making the best of it. You know, like I reused all the original, I've repolished the brake levers. And
The fact that it's got front suspension at all is very, very
It's luxury.
luxurious.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's great to ride, you know. It feels like a Rolls Royce compared to a little Hustler because it's so much bigger and it's got suspension.
This, safe to say, this is a forever bike.
Well, I believe so. I mean, everything's for sale because I do need to keep selling things to
Yeah.
keep the cash flow going.
But if you can not sell this one, it would be nice.
I love this bike.
Yeah.
And I've put hundreds of hours into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, not only has it got the drivetrain conversion, it's also got the restoration on the
Yeah.
parts.
Yeah.
So this is a labour of love.
Yeah.
And if you look back on how it started, it's come a long, long way.
For you to be happy with a profit on this, would you be happy to give it a value?
Yeah, probably 15,000.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Absolutely. I feel like I should stop touching it. I can't afford that. No, that's okay. It's seriously a work of art. Just the fact that you've done so much with the rotaries. I was really rotary obsessed as a kid. By the time I got to driving age, it just wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, they existed, but I couldn't afford them.
Yep.
When I was, 8 to 13 years old, you could pick them up for 3 to 4 to 5 grand.
Yep.
Very easily. By the time, only a few years later, I was 16, driving age, it skyrocketed then, and even now it's just an unrealistic expectation to even get one. But I really like it.
Yeah, so what happened was the two that came to me were in good condition. All they needed was a bit of a cleanup. So I did probably 7 of them. Because what I did was I jumped on Facebook, put out some wanting to buy ads, and just started buying up every single one that I could. Because I found that people were so interested in them, especially in my bikes, that they were willing to pay for what it costs to build one. So I think I sold probably 6 or 7 of them without having to pull an engine apart. I found that many good engines. They're inherently quite reliable. So, they're stationary engines, they're not strung out. Factory, they're fitted with a governor, so they're not going to rev real high. I was lucky to find that many good ones, I suppose. I never actually pulled one apart. I recently got 1 or 2 in parts, which have been an absolute nightmare for me because, there's parts missing and you just can't find parts. So I can show you that later. I've got there in a box, planning to build that as a separate YouTube feature video to show people exactly how these engines work and how to build one. Because they're a fascinating engine, they work like no other rotary.
They're not built anymore at all, are they?
No, they stopped in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s. Amazing company that built them. They specialised in building brake hubs for push bikes and stuff, little ratcheting hubs, and very, very skilled company. I'd say I'm like a Sachs rotary specialist now. I've probably handled more than most people in the country. I probably had, 25 of them through here. This guy, it's called Jay, he messaged me once and said, hey, I want to buy one of your, so I sell a little PTO shaft kit for bolting these CVTs on. He said, I want to buy one of those, and I sold him that kit, and he never really told me that he had bought a brand new engine, but that's actually it here. He turned up with it here and asked me if I could help him start it up. So we test fired it, and I was like, cool, I'm going to buy that off you now. And he wasn't really looking to sell it, but he did, and here it is.
One thing we could do here as well is if we pan up to these original engines.
Yeah.
Over here, I'll get rid of the bike.
Yep, these are new old stock engines. ex-German Army surplus stock. So these were ordered by the German Army in 1965.
Glad you said then and not 20
Yeah,
years earlier, mate. Wouldn't be able to talk about it.
yeah, exactly. It's a pretty controversial army, but look, these were amazing, you know, and
What am I looking at? What is this?
this is the Precision Governor. So this is quite unique. Like I say, not many engines in New Zealand had these.
Mm.
It's a belt-driven, really interesting. It's actually got oil inside it, and it controls the carburetor with this little rod that comes out of it.
Okay.
And these are able to maintain the RPM very, very accurately.
Yeah.
So these were used on electrical generators,
Mm.
hence why they had a Precision Governor.
Yeah. Don't want any power spikes.
It's
It's interesting to see what this would power. Like what would this? Oh, that carb's original, isn't it?
That's brand new.
I need to touch it. Smell it. Yeah, it doesn't smell like anything.
It's all oiled up though. It's all
Yeah.
been preserved really nicely.
That's really impressive.
Because our ones had a little air vane driven governor, which was a primitive styled governor. And a lot of them were just kind of modified with a simple micro switch that it just hit and then killed the ignition. So a real simple on-off kind of governor. But anyway, these are really cool. They're something that we haven't really seen in New Zealand yet. So I've bought 4 more of them out of Greece. And yeah, they're expensive. They're a big investment for my business to fork out the cash to buy them up front, because I buy the engines before I make the sale. So I've got to sit on the stock. I've sold 3 of these Rotary Special Fatboys with the brand new engines, which is quite cool. That kind of inspired me to buy a couple more engines and keep trying to sell more. When I started out, all I got was negative hate, like, hey, your bikes are too expensive. No one's going to pay $2,500 for a mini bike. The ironic thing is that $2,500 is a lot cheaper than they actually were in the 1970s. If you adjust for inflation, a brand new True Test was $3,500 in today's money, and they sold like hotcakes. So the question is, why don't they sell like hotcakes now? And it's because people are so used to paying like fuck all for a mini bike, you know? They're used to buying a like little Chinese pocket bike for $800, you know? And America is plagued by that mentality of like, why can't I buy it as cheap as possible? All I want is for it to be as cheap as possible. There is obviously a market of people that want quality and they're prepared to pay for it, and they kind of seek me out. So they're almost like excited to find me and find that there's someone building something real, you know, with their hands, and it's small numbers, it's high quality, you know, there's been so much effort gone into every detail, because I don't like any part of the bike to be lacking in quality, you know. So when I build a bike, I personally put my heart and soul into every little aspect, you know, to ensure that it's high quality and high finish quality, because the people that are buying these really take pride in how they look and how they feel, you know. And I think if you're going to pay a premium price for something, you want to be really proud of it, you know. And I think that's what my brand stands for, is just high quality, you know. And price comes with quality. Like I've never been interested in building low quality, cheap items.
And then, like you're saying, that you chuck a Rotary in it and people don't even question the price then?
No, because if you're looking for a Rotary mini bike,
Go find one.
yeah. They are like the rarest, ultimate pinnacle of mini biking, you know. Sure, you can go and find an engine and build your own, like go for gold. I encourage people to build their own stuff, but a lot of people can't. And if they want a high quality, bespoke, you know, coded New Zealand made, I mean, this is a New Zealand made motorcycle.
The only one?
Yeah, no one else is doing it, you know. It's made by an official business, it's got a serial number, you know, it's documented online. It's a huge promotion for people, you know, to be able to say, hey, I've got one. And while I'm building it, I promote their business or whatever it's associated with. And you know, it's an experience, you know. And I think people like to be part of an experience. You know, if the sale is an experience for you, it's a lot more appealing, I think. Believe it or not, one of my first mini bikes I sold was to a guy. He gave it away. So from day one, I think they were an appealing kind of corporate giveaway. I guess lately, I think more corporate sponsors have come on and seen that, hey, these are actually a pretty cool thing to give away. You personalise them, do them in a colour scheme that matches my business, and yeah, I think they're at a price point where like $2,500 including GST for a little hustler is like, it's a pretty easy giveaway, man. It's like the price of an iPhone, you know? A lot of businesses can afford that. It's something that appeals to a wide audience, kids and adults. You know, if you're a tradesman, 18 to 54, you're probably going to like a mini bike, and if you don't want it, your kids are going to want it, or whatever. You know, it's kind of a sure thing. So,
have any come back to you? Like someone's gone through, then eventually made it so big. Have you had to rebuy any?
I've never rebought one, but I've had people mention that they'd like to trade it back in. And usually because they see the next model coming through, or they see a Rotary and they say, oh, I want a Rotary one now. Can you convert my bike to a Rotary, or can you buy it back and build me a Rotary and things like that? But the answer is usually no, because it actually costs more to convert it to a Rotary than to just start over, and you're better to just sell your bike. But to be honest, I've had customers buy like up to 4 bikes because they just keep wanting the next model, or they want the bigger, better, and that's great, because repeat business is the best business, right? You know, it's as good as it gets. So, and that speaks volumes for the quality and the desire for my product, you know, is that people are coming back time after time to get the next upgrade or the next model. So it's awesome. Yeah, that's the cool thing about having a Instagram page that's got a good reach worldwide, is that I'm able to sell small parts that I can ship overseas easily. And I've got a huge, like, kind of ability to say, hey, check out this bike I'm building. By the way, I sell the PTO shaft kits. It's an easy way for me to market the fact that those are available on my website. So if people see me building something like this in New Zealand and saying, I can't send this to America, they're gonna go, right, how can I build my own here? Well, I can buy the parts off him, he'll send me the parts so I can build my own, right? So yeah, that's sort of how the part sales thing took off.
We'll do this one before we go out, eh?
Yeah.
Bring that over. So this is something that you came up with recently because
Just through demand, basically.
people are bigger than the bikes.
Yeah.
And they want to be less bigger than the bikes. So now the bike is bigger and there's a more even ratio there.
Yeah.
So we were talking a wee while back and you were wondering about alloy rims. I think you might have posted a question or a story or something.
Well, look, since I started, I've been looking for a decent wheel. It's amazingly hard to find mini bike wheels, and especially cost-effective ones. You know, there's things available out of the States, but by the time you've imported them, they're not cost-effective.
And let's be entirely honest, all of those ones out of the States have just been made in China. Someone in the States has bought them and then
That's
they're going
right.
to ship them over here.
That's right. They're nothing
Why
special.
would you bother doing that when you can do this? We're lucky though. There's a bike retailer in New Zealand called M-Bike. They didn't used to exist, and before they existed, basically any part you wanted, you have to buy off AliExpress, hope it would turn up, or eBay, and pay exorbitant shipping. So these guys have done us all a solid, and this is an 8-inch.
Yeah, 8 by 4.5.
It's wild to even see a nice 8-inch tire, like what, this is a 130 by 60 by 8.
Yeah,
So
so it's a proper motorcycle tyre.
Yeah.
You know, it gives us a whole nother realm where we've got a safe high-speed tyre now. So we can actually, you know, get proper road handling from a mini bike, you know.
What are we at? Like, this is a longer frame, is it?
This is actually, what I've done with this bike after falling in love with the Honda QA50 is I've actually replicated the Honda QA50 wheelbase
Okay.
and the head tube angle.
Yeah.
So we should have similar handling characteristics to the QA.
And you've got drum front and rear.
Correct.
Yeah. It's, yeah, you're way higher. You've got, it just feels cooler, man.
It just feels safer.
Yeah, I just like fat tires, and
Yeah.
it just like you can, yeah. It's really light. Like you'd actually expect that to be heavier in the front end
Yeah.
just because of the size of the wheel. And if you look, you've got those drums there. How are you going to stop the drums from spinning, or do they not because they're tightened up?
No, they will.
Yeah.
They will have little locking blocks. So I've actually got them here. Interestingly enough, I've got some of the first production parts for this bike here.
Okay.
So my plan here is just to weld these little steel blocks in.
Okay.
Like that.
Yes, of course.
And that'll lock the rotation of the hub.
Yeah.
And same in the front, that'll have a little block like that,
Comes straight off the fork there.
welded to the tube.
Locating, yeah. That's really, really, really smart, man.
I've got, this is called the Hustler Scorpion.
Scorpion.
I've got There you go, you've seen it here first. Little scorpions cut into the back axle plate.
It's amazing. It's really amazing.
So those go back there. And that's just a quirky little thing. I like to do quirky little details that...
It's the details that count, man. It's
You
the
know-
details that make your product separated from the rest. Like this
Yeah.
I've noticed here. This little...
Well, that's same as True Test.
Okay.
So that's not unique to me,
Okay.
unfortunately. But I took what was good
Yeah.
and I changed what wasn't good.
Yeah.
That there is a really good design. It's really strong with the fold in it.
Yeah.
So that's
It's just for front end strengthening, isn't it?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
It supports the entire top of the head tube.
Yeah. Gearing on these, because you've got a pretty big rear sprocket on this. Do you
That sprocket, funny enough, that's the original one from the Honda QA. It
Okay.
was too small. So when I replaced it, I had this left over.
Okay.
I bolted it on here the other day for the mock-up, but this here's what I'm planning to use.
Do you just kind of hope that the gearing's going to be good, or have you done some calculations to figure that out, or?
Yeah, I always calculate it if I can. This is what I'm planning to run,
Oh my God.
so it's even bigger again.
Once again, no flat tires allowed.
Yeah, it's definitely small enough that it will give you still a good angle.
Yeah.
And that's a 35 pitch.
Yeah.
That's a 420. So my plan's to run 35. It's a lot cheaper for the chain.
Yes. Yeah.
With this bike, I'm trying to keep the cost somewhere in between the little Hustler and the Fatboy.
Okay.
So I want it to be more affordable than a Fatboy.
Yeah.
So I want to keep it simpler.
Okay.
But I still want customers to get good value for money. So you're going to get, all your money goes into the wheels on this bike. Much more expensive wheel than my other bikes.
Yeah.
But
Even more than the...
not more expensive than the beadlocks.
Okay, cool.
But they're at a high end.
Yeah, that's a very different
Yeah.
ballpark. I like this, I think, just because I'm so used to 8 and 10 and 12-inch wheels. I've been around them so much. And for me, it fills out the frame a lot. One thing I'm always kind of used to think about mini bikes is that they've got quite a lot of empty space.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I thought that was a bad thing, but I always feel like the space needs to be filled, but it doesn't. And I mean, you could, like, you know, with your True Test, your original number one over here, you could hang like a bag in the back there and strap it round if you wanted to. Or There's so many different things you can do, but I really like how awesome this is. And also, with the engine right there, you'll be preheating the tyre for added grip. I don't think there'll be much heat coming off there, would there?
Yeah, a little note, in my opinion, on the mini bike styling is that simple is beautiful.
Yes.
And free space is also beautiful. For example, with the turquoise Fatboy there, we've left the whole front end exposed. You know, there's no plate on here or on the sides.
Yeah.
You know, to me, it's a traditional style, and
it's letting the colours do the talking.
It's quintessential to a mini bike to me is for it to look simple.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people go wrong by getting the proportions out or by adding things that aren't traditional.
Yeah, my first thoughts when because the way my brain works is I was like, oh, it'd be so cool to make one of these. Not that you ever would physically have it road legal, but it'd be cool to have like a brake light and turn signals and have a horn and have all this stuff. But then I'm sitting there and pulling myself and reining myself in, like, why?
Just buy a motorbike.
Yeah.
Like,
you
just
can
buy
a
a Z50 or something. That's what that's all about.
Yeah.
Whereas traditional mini bikes, they're not road legal bikes. They're designed to be super simple, super cheap, fun, and you know if you enjoy that, then it's the ultimate. You know, is embracing how simple they are, how easy to fix they are.
Cool. Do you mind just going upstairs for a second? And I'm just gonna.
Yeah.
I'm gonna. Oh, it's not finished yet. Damn it! I want this one. Like every bike I touch, I'm saying I want this one.
I can see you buying one of these.
Yeah, I know. You would say that.
I know you'll be a good customer one day.
Yeah, man. I just need a few more subscribers. That's all. Do you want me to put this here up against the wall there, and we'll go and have a look at our last hurrah?
Electric start.
Gear inch. Brand placement. Anyway, we're here because this is the last bike we wanted to talk about. So this is called
This is a Hustler Rotary Fatboy.
Rotary Fatboy. So this is something that people, well, it depends when you're watching this video. Could someone contact you
Yeah.
in the next few months of 2023 and still get one of these made? Like when do you think you'll run out of engines?
As of today, I've got 2 available. So right now I can take 2 orders for these.
Okay. By the time I release, I'll put on the screen how many are left
None
at that
available.
point. Yeah.
No, we don't know, and I don't know how many I'll be able to get in the future, but right now I've got 2 available.
So we've looked at a Fatboy.
Looked at the Fatboy, yep.
And that had this, it's got the independent sprocket and disc on the rear.
Yep, and we've seen the XL pack with the beadlock rims.
Yep, we've looked at these wheels.
So that is pretty much mandatory on this model.
Yeah.
So this is a Rotary special. It's basically the Fatboy with the XL pack and the brand new Rotary engine.
Yeah.
So you've got the best of everything I can offer at the moment.
Yeah.
You know, we've got the 3D printed intake manifold.
Yeah.
We've got my CNC PTO shaft kit on there.
Tank is up the top instead of under the seat.
Correct, yeah. So we've got a custom made moon style tank, the nice spun alloy domed ends, you know, billet cap. They're just a beautiful little tank on their own, you know, just...
Do you have like a fuel tap on these? Would you run one? Or do
Yeah,
you
we
just...
run a fuel tap underneath.
Yeah.
Yep,
And it just comes straight down.
yep.
Yeah.
And it's got a little built-in filter as well.
Foot pegs, do you usually throw rubbers on the end?
Yep, I always run a really simplistic style rubber.
Yeah.
And that's just because I love the traditional style.
Yeah.
Even though this is a premium bike, it's still a traditional style.
Yes.
So we're not going away from that.
This pipe, how did you... No, not how. I know how because you're talented and you know how to do these things. How much effort and time did it take to get that hugging so close and just get all the angles right and stuff like that? Like what kind of hours are you putting into like a pipe?
An exhaust like that, maybe sort of 6 hours,
Yeah.
something like that.
So that's...
I'd spend the most part of the day on it because, you know, with breaks and sitting back thinking about it. And
Social media is part of work as well. You've got to keep that up every single day, posting.
yeah, I spend hours, like, you know, I might pick my phone up 15 minutes every hour and respond to comments and DMs and stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously that distracts me from my work, but it's just part of life.
So 6 hours for a pipe like that. How long does it take you to put the frames together?
Something like this. There's a fair bit of extra work in these because I've got the extra cladding. Maybe six hours of fab work in it.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's really impressive. I love it, man. It's
But, yeah, obviously the frame's a CNC mandrel bent,
yes.
so that takes that labour portion out of it for me.
Okay.
So that speeds me up a lot.
Yeah.
All I have to do is basically trim the ends to length, fit them into my jigs, and then weld them together. So
that's enough secrets. Don't need to
that's
tell
enough
them.
secrets. Although I'm not shy to say that they're CNC mandrel bent.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unreasonable for me at this point to have a CNC mandrel bender.
Yes.
You know, that's a $100,000 machine.
Yeah. But you watch next month. No jokes.
Yeah. One day I'd
Yeah.
love to have one, but put it this way, you can't replicate the quality of this frame with a manual bender.
No.
I'm achieving a higher result by outsourcing the bending.
But you do have a bender that I've seen quite a few
Yeah,
times.
I
And what do
have.
you use that for?
Prototyping.
Okay.
So basically, from a business point of view, I can have these CNC bent cheaper than I can bend them myself. So it's not, you're going to end up with a more expensive bike if I try and bend them myself.
Yeah.
And they won't be as good. So, from
That's
an
awesome.
efficiency point of view, I'm doing it the best way in my opinion.
Yeah. That's epic.
Yeah, and I'm not ashamed to say that I outsource things that I can't do myself.
It's smart. It's
You know?
working smarter, not harder, man.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I've got to make money out of them. I've got to find a better way. You know, there's always a smarter way to do it.
Yeah.
You can't do everything yourself. I don't
No.
have time.
No.
If I want to make 10 bikes a month, I can't do everything myself.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I've still got to run all the business side of it. I've still got to order the parts, you know, handle the social media and all that.
For sure.
So, yeah, outsource what you can. Focus on what you're good at.
Awesome. I'm really looking forward to seeing this one. Is this pre-sold?
This one is, this is for Mike Smith.
Okay.
It's his 4th Hustler.
It sounds like a Mike Smith. That's too generic of a name. I think he's giving you a pseudonym, eh?
It's definitely the most common name in the country.
Yeah.
He's actually he's got a good social media presence of Mortgage Performance.
Oh, is that the guy down in...
He's here in Auckland.
Oh, he's here in Auckland?
Yep.
Oh, Mortgage Performance. Okay, yep.
Yep. You'll catch him online. He's quite good at doing TikTok videos and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a mortgage advisor.
sing out to us, Mike, once this is finished if you want a proper review.
Yeah.
I will come and do one for you. No
we'll
problem at
go
all.
and see him with it.
Yeah.
Go and check out his collection. He's got some cool cars as well. You know, he got an old Series 3 RX-7.
Yeah.
And just bought a Batmobile RX-7. And
it's amazing.
worth visiting.
Yeah. Thank you so much for showing us all this, man. We
Yeah.
will, I don't know what part of the video this will be because I haven't edited it yet, but I imagine this will be the end of one of the videos.
Yep.
There will be several coming out. We'll do a bit of a feature on all of the different models that you've got as well. So if you haven't, go and look in my other videos now, and there should be some there. If not, they'll be there very soon. I'll upload them all pretty quickly within a similar time frame. I think, though, something that they've probably already heard, but we haven't done yet, is engine starting. Let's go do some, eh?
Yep, they're
All right,
very
man.
easy to start, so let's do it.
Thanks so much.
Yep. Yeah, I'm Tim O'Connor, I'm 34, and I run Hustler Minibikes New Zealand.